Johnny Fish and Dan Shaggy in the tank with Johnny Fish and Dan Shaggy.
Moody McCarthy sits in for Shacky this week as William Stephenson gets in the tank for a double episode. William has been seen on HBO's Def Comedy Jam and the Apollo Comedy Hour, as well as in the movie Pootie Tang. He's a master of ceremonies. If you're a comic in New York City or visited New York City to perform, chances are William Stephenson has introduced you onto the comedy stage. This week, William shares the best way to sleep on the subway and in a comedy club. We learn about the art of street performance and also how to not piss off William.
Such a shitty feeling when he looked in his bag and didn't have the mic last time.
Welcome to In the Tank with Jon Fisch. We are at Dan Allen's Sunshine Suites. Hi, Danny.
It's not mine, but hi. How you doing?
Public apology to Dan Allen. He was just telling the story about how a couple of weeks ago I forgot the snowball microphone, and I could see on his face how much of a tyrant I am when he said, I'm like, are you alright, Dan? He goes, I am just glad that it wasn't me.
That might have been a mistake, wouldn't you think?
It would have been a huge, this is the only equipment that we have is this microphone.
What did you guys do?
I had my video camera.
You wrote it down longhand and people just read the transcript.
I had a video camera, we recorded it off that, and it was pretty good. So we have no Dan Shacky this week. So a public apology to Dan Allen for general...
Did somebody forget to bring Dan
I just
Shacky?
ruined his life. Someone forgot Dan Shacky, so Moody McCarthy is sitting in.
Hey, good to be back.
And this week's guest, the wonderful William Stephenson.
Oh boy,
It's pretty exciting.
I am excited. I've been doing this for what, a year now? When he first asked me to do it.
Comedy.
Well,
So what am I doing? When am I going in the tank?
to be fair, and I'm glad I just apologized to Dan because I'm going to shit on him now. Dan was going to get us a studio, like a real studio space, and we wanted William and Lenny to be our first guests in the new studio
It's like
space.
a kick-ass $20,000 studio.
Yeah.
Wow.
And that didn't happen.
Nope.
So it just the build-up of that sort of fell, and then we just kind of like to space out concentration of conversation. Is that good?
We wanted
Way to say?
yeah, because a lot of people who developed in Comedy Cellar, other people were like Tonight Show writers, and so we just wanted to space them out.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Is that enough to
I'm
make you
here
like
now.
us now?
Yeah. Very happy to be here.
The good news is that we don't have that studio, but we do have the $20,000 for you.
Nice. It's already started.
So as a tribute to William, I think we should open with that. On stage, I love it. You have the crowd do a quiet golf clap.
Oh, the golf clap.
Yeah, and then it gets louder.
Yeah,
Yeah.
as I rotate.
That
Yeah.
might sound horrible over the computer. Yeah. But
William
I do love
Stephenson,
it.
widely recognized as the host in New York City, the first choice, the best, the top dog. Thank you for being here. Moody, you're one of our top listeners.
Hey, thank you. Yep.
And one of our first guests ever.
That's right.
And also tonight, helping us out with the sound issue, we're working off of, what do you call that?
That is a Zoom H2
Yeah.
digital recorder. I don't
We're
know.
trying a new digital recorder, see how
Yeah.
that goes.
Yeah.
Yeah. What do you think about that, producer Dan?
It's a start.
The show eventually will have as many microphones as listeners.
How are you, Dan?
I'm doing fucking great.
Yeah? You're driving a BMW these days?
White.
Oof.
Really?
I just saw it, yeah.
Wow.
That's nice.
Is that where the studio money went?
Let's not talk about the studio mic.
How's the sound in that white...
It sounds great. It comes with a great microphone. It's fucking pretty sweet.
That is via girlfriend?
Yes, that's her vehicle. Correct.
It almost got jacked.
Dan jumps into living with girls fairly quickly. and he's about to
Never
do it
seen
again.
Worse for the wear.
You didn't see him last year. Moody McCarthy about to move in with his girlfriend.
That's right, making a big
Hey,
plunge.
are you excited? Are you excited about that?
There's a little inside joke because
You ever heard Keith Robinson's bit about
No.
moving to the girl?
No.
I'm not gonna
Tell us.
I thought he said you never move into the woman's apartment because she's gonna make it sound fun, but then she'll end up throwing your ass out for any little reason. Like he said he was sleeping, and the woman said, "Get up! You look like you're sleeping with attitude," and kicked him out. Now is Keith gonna hear this and fucking try to?
I doubt it.
Yeah, you don't have a radio. This is not the radio. This is the internet. This is like a radio show for the internet.
He doesn't have the internet.
And you can say fuck and everything.
You can say whatever you want.
Okay. Fuck Keith Robinson.
Are you guys moving to Astoria?
No, you're not
We're
moving
moving-
into her apartment,
we're
right?
moving into a neutral. An apartment new to both of us.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Yeah,
How
but
long-
she keeps asking me if I'm excited about it.
How long have you known?
I've known her for 1 year.
And you
It's
moved
pretty
in
amazing.
here?
Moving in together, yeah. Yeah. But she keep asking me if I was excited about it. But she asked so many times that no, I'm not excited.
You know how many levels of crazy you have not seen?
I'm not used to it.
Oh my God.
Have you ever lived with a woman?
No.
No.
No,
Really?
I'm not doing that until
Me
I'm
either.
going all the way in.
Really?
I'm gonna get married.
You've never been married?
Never been married. No kids, no baby mamas.
Ted
no-
Elliott, have you seen Ted's new joke about that? He goes, it says something like, I'm going to chop it up, but he says, I am 41 years old, never been married, no kids. I did it.
Like he made it?
Yeah, I made it.
Yeah.
All right, so William, you're originally from Detroit.
Yes.
Tell us a little bit about how you came to New York.
Oh man.
How did you end up here?
New York, just like I pictured it. Skyscrapers and everything. I had been doing stand-up in D.C. for 2 years. And
D.C.?
Washington, D.C.
Okay. Yeah, right. But
That's where I was living at the time.
okay.
1982, November, right before Thanksgiving. And the club I worked, Garbage Lafayette, had Bill Sheff and Adrian Toach headlining. And I was emceeing. And after the weekend, they said, you should come to New York. I said, well, find me a place to work. So they got me a spot at Catch.
Wow.
That was my first time in New York.
Catcher.
Now, Bill Shaft is like the head writer of Letterman
Right now,
forever.
yeah.
The other name I didn't
Adrian
know.
Toach is his wife.
Oh,
She also
okay.
does stand-up.
Oh, wow, okay.
They're like 100.
Wow.
The Catcher Rising Star was where at that time?
It was on First Avenue.
Okay.
The original.
On the Upper East?
Yeah, right around the corner from the Strip.
Okay.
So it was a Sunday night gig, and my cousin. I told my cousin who lives in here in New York, and she brought like 13 of her friends, and I didn't know what time I was going on, so they got there at 8 o'clock when the show started. I went on about 1, and they were like the last people, and they had spent all their money on popcorn and whatnot, and they got their check, and all they had was a penny left after the check, and that was the tip. And they said, look, this is all I got. And then they said, well, you go ahead and keep that. But my 5 minutes set was weird because, you know, first time in New York and everything. And I only been doing comedy for 2 years, and I wasn't that funny. And but I had a good time. And then I came back with my girlfriend who got me into comedy to do Rascals on a Thursday. She drove me to Jersey. And then, that was 84, I think. Then 85, I said, look, you know, fuck it. I'm a comedian. I got to be in New York or LA. I didn't like LA, and I had family here, so I came here. But I didn't have any work. I had a weekend at the Rick Messina's old room.
Out in Long Island?
Queens.
He said,
The dirty, not the dirty, the something. It was a long room.
I was never there. There were some famous clubs out there.
I don't think it was Long Island. I think it was, well, anyway, I had a weekend of that, and then a weekend at in Jersey. The fucking something about what is it? The nickel? Y'all don't know what the fuck I'm talking about?
Dan's never been into a club.
I don't have a computer. I can Google all this shit.
Oh yeah, I had 2 weekends worth of work,
Yeah.
and I thought that was going to get me, started.
Yeah.
And then when that was up, I'm like, well, damn, I ain't got no more work. I ain't got no money. I got 2 choices. I can go back to D.C. and live with my mom, or I could stay here and just live on the street. So I said, well, I'm 25 years old. I ain't got no kids. What the fuck? Let's have an adventure. So I started doing shows in Washington Square Park and Columbus Circle.
Wow.
Lunchtime Columbus Circle, weekends in Washington Square. That's where I met Charlie Barnett, Rick Aviles. Eventually,
Charlie's a legend, like a street legend.
Yes.
Passed away.
Yes.
Pretty young, right?
And Rick too.
Okay.
What was Rick's name?
Aviles. He has a brother that does his act now,
Oh yeah.
but not as well. Y'all know him. I can't think of
Yeah,
his
that
name.
sounds familiar.
He used to work Gotham, the old Gotham. And another legend passed away about a couple of years ago. Albert Owens.
These are street performers?
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. Well, Albert used to try to do the club. He used to come and try to do the cellar, but he was so used to working outside that when he got into a club where people were waiting to hear him, he's still doing crowd work. And by the time he finished, his set was over. And he's pissed because, So, the improv...
If the crowd's not on their feet,
What the fuck is wrong with him?
you guys are stationary, sitting down. Throwing me out.
The first club I passed at was the original Improv on 44th and 9th. And I was still homeless, so I was...
That was like the first comedy club in the city. It's like in the country almost, right? Wasn't that one of the...
Yeah, one of the early ones.
Yeah.
I don't know if it's exactly... I think the Strip is claiming to be the oldest, but I used to sleep in the back of the Improv in those stadium seats. Which is kind of weird because you can't fucking get no stretching out. You're only just one little fucking area. But I was used to that because...
Like overnight you'd sleep there? Like you,
No.
Oh, okay.
I would go in there and the way they had it, Pat Buckles would come into the bar and look around and then point at a comedian that was next. They had no lineup.
Huh.
You just hang out and hope to get on.
She was the manager in Booker?
Yeah. So it's like, in elementary school, you sit there, please call me, please call me. And that's what we were doing. And so she eventually started pointing at me, and but I still was homeless. So I spent a lot of time on the subway, riding the A train from App to Zap. And when you sleep on the train, you have to sleep in the seat that you are in. You can't be leaning over either way. You can lean forward. So I would go to sleep maybe 3-4 in the morning, and then I wake up and I go to sleep. The train is empty. The car is empty. I wake up. Everybody's going to work, smelling all good. I come up from I got drool all over the side of my face. It was weird. I spent a lot of time in the basement of the Port Authority.
Wow.
Back in those days, they had lockers.
This is the mid-'80s?
Yeah, 85,
The
86.
cities was a lot rougher back then.
Crack was just becoming great. I mean, huge. And
See, Dan was homeless in the 2000s.
Yeah.
It's a whole different story.
yeah. And this was February. From February to October of 85, I think. And you could sleep on the floor of the Port Authority until the cop would come by and take his stick and hit you on the foot. That means time to move on. So I get on the train until about 10. And that's when the sun would come up over the buildings in the Bryant Park. And I go out on the lawn with some newspaper and just lay there for
Jesus.
until lunchtime. I do a show in front of the library. Then I go down to
Well, then you do a show.
yeah, right in front of the library.
Wow.
on Fifth Avenue with all that damn noise. And Mike, that's where I met Mike Sweeney.
Oh, really?
He had a regular job because I remember his shoes. He had those businessman shoes with the little tiny holes.
Yeah.
I guess
what are those called?
If you're sleeping on the street, you really pay attention to shoes.
Those called bucks. Is that what those are called?
I don't know what they're called, but he used to sit there, watch me,
Wow.
and I found that weird because he would be out there every day, and I'd be doing the same shit, you know.
Wow.
And there was a mime who talked. He was one of the he would fall and step behind people. That was part of his set, and then he had some coat hanger microphone. He had the face paint. He had a coat hanger thing around his neck to hold the mic.
Okay.
And a little mouse hand. And I'm like, man, don't you know the whole concept of being a mime is you don't talk? And he goes, no, I'm gonna be different. I'm gonna bring out something new. So he had a room on 48th and 8th Avenue that he was paying $50 a week, and it was just one room, no bedrooms, no kitchen, just one fucking room. And he let me stay there for a couple of weeks, and then the funk just drove me out. I don't know. He had a girlfriend who might have had elephantiasis because her legs are fucking huge. But the rest of
Her testicles were normal.
So I got the hell out of there real quick, and I ended up at the the Jane West Hotel, which is used to be a performance space for Danny DeVito and his wife Rhea. They used to do shows there. Then they turned it into an SRO, and I stayed there for 2 years. And then a cousin had a roommate whose family had a brownstone in Brooklyn, and they weren't living there, and they let me have a whole floor for $400 a month. I stayed there for 12 fucking years.
Wow.
There you go.
Yeah.
Wow.
And because I'm talking to Ted Alexandro, he said the first time that he saw you perform was in Washington Square Park.
Yes. Spent a lot of time there.
What were you doing at that time? Were you doing like a stand-up thing? Because you had been doing stand-up for a couple of years.
Right.
So were you doing something?
It was a combination of street performing and stand-up. I would to get a crowd, there's all different types of ways. Charlie Barnett used to stand on a garbage can and just yell, Charlie, Charlie. And then the people started yelling it, and then waves of people come from all over the park. And I figured out a way to, the fountain has the circle, and they had little
steps.
Basically
Yeah.
steps, and they were seats basically. So people would sit there and read whatever. And when the fountain wasn't on, it was a perfect theater in the round. So I would go and stand in the middle, and I would have different sections. I would make 4 different sections. Section 1, Section 2, 3, and 4. And I would make people in Section 1 clap a certain rhythm. And then I would add Section 2 on a different rhythm, and 3 and 4 and so on. So by the time everybody was clapping, it sounded great. And other people would say, what the fuck is that going over there? They would come. So then I would go into my stand-up act. But you have people in the park, you have to really make them stay, because they will suck up your show and then walk the fuck away. So you have to figure out when is a good time to say, look, I'm doing this for money. So I did a game show called So You Want to Be Black. And I would get a white girl out the audience, and I would ask them questions, because my theory was that I got from a community college black psychology class that all white people want to be black. And that's why when you don't like something, you oppress it. That's why they shut up. Y'all.
You forget which podcast you're on?
We're still here.
They shat on us. And so I took that and wrote that, and the questions were really fucking stupid. White people smell funny when their hair gets wet. because, and then I had 3 fake answers. And we get to the end, and I would, if they won, I would tell them they won a brand new car. Then I would reach into my bag and pull out a coat hanger. That was the keys. And then I had to get something else, so I came up with a different version of Love Connection, which was big at the time.
2 and 2, seeing 2 and 2.
Yeah.
Chuck Woolery.
Right. I changed it to Love Indigestion. And it would work the same way, except I would send a couple on a date to the hot dog stand on the outside of the church. And then they would come back and talk about the date.
That's fantastic.
So as long as because the only acts that could do straight stand up, take a bow, and when he lifted his head up, the people were there ready to pay, was Rick. Charlie even had to stop like 3/4 of the way and go, look, he would take a bag, a brown paper bag, fill it up with money, stick it down his pants, and say, y'all laugh if you want, but my dick is on the money. And Martin Lawrence came out when he was doing Do the Right Thing. He had never done street performance before.
Huh.
So I introduced him after my and Phyllis Javon Stickley show. And he didn't even have anything to collect his money. So he took his jacket, spread it out over his head, and filled that fucking thing up with dollar bills, y'all, and all kind of money.
How many people, like a typical show, how many people you think you could draw? Like,
You could
50?
no,
More?
no, hundreds.
Hundreds, wow.
Because that's right in the heart of NYU,
Yeah,
in the village.
the Washington Square fountain, which they
You hit them right at lunchtime?
6
Is that when you hit them? Or like?
No, weekends, Saturday and
Okay.
Sunday, starting at noon.
Yeah.
Be all kind of street, Master Lee, the Calypso Tumblers,
Okay,
Chicken Tack.
Now, did you have to perform in between the fountain, or would the fountain just be off?
The fountain was off for the most part, and if it was all on, then you would do shows in little sections that were around the circle.
And there's a little bit of a pecking order, like they knew the fountain was yours? at a
No,
certain
it's
time?
nobody's. It's a public
Okay.
place. So there
No,
was
with the other street performers, like did anyone ever step on your?
oh hell yes!
Okay,
People
yeah.
would come out and just set up.
Okay.
And the thing was, if there were 5 street performers, I would try to get there before noon because nobody wanted to work before noon.
Okay.
So I would do the first show, and then whoever came up behind me would do a show. Then after everybody's done one show, you start over.
Huh.
I would do a second show,
Huh.
sometimes 3 shows, depending on how many acts were out there, and the weather and all kind of.
Yeah.
Did you need
You need a
permits and stuff like that?
You were supposed to,
But it
but
was
if you
loose.
didn't have a microphone, they wouldn't bother you.
Okay.
Albert got arrested many times for using his mouse.
Okay.
And because they would complain, the people on Fifth Avenue. But I had a mouse for a minute, but apparently I wasn't as offensive, so it didn't really bother me. But Albert just
a what?
The mouse,
Mouse.
amp, microphone
little-
and
A
amp.
portable amp?
Yeah. mouse hand. And what's his name? Albert hated white people. And did not hesitate to express his views over the microphone. So they were always on his ass about it. And then Chappelle came out there, didn't know what the fuck he was doing. Same situation with Martin. He didn't know how to get a crowd, and nobody knew who he was. But once he started working
Even
the
with the
crowd,
Chappelle show?
this is way before.
I'm kidding.
But hey, buddy, this is way before that.
How old was Martin Lawrence? Sorry to.
Martin Lawrence, I guess it was 89 when they did, or 88 when they did,
He looks younger. No.
1988. Because I guess the movie came out in 89, so they probably filmed it, and he was in New York the summer of 88. And he must have been, I don't know, early 20s.
And Chappelle was just a kid.
Chappelle opened for me in Maryland when he was 16. And I had just started. It was like my first headlining gig or whatever. It wasn't even a real room or nothing. It was horrible. But I was so mad, and him for being that fucking funny at 16. I wanted to punch his fucking.
And how was he getting a
But his
crowd?
mom
Was he
was there.
learning from you guys and stuff?
Yeah, and then when he blew up, all he had to do was show up.
Yeah.
And then he stopped because he didn't have to. But you could make a minimum of 50. What you get in the club, $50 or so, depending on like I said, the weather. So many different factors. The weather. Was there anything else going on in the park? And the attitude of the cops. And it was an adventure every Friday, every Saturday, and every Sunday from noon until sundown.
And at this time, what were the other club opportunities for you? Like, was that something that you were thinking about, or you were just doing this?
Well, it turned out that working out in the street was very good for working in the club because when you realize that the people are already there. When you work outside, you spend most of your time just getting people to come look at you. So when you walk into a stage where people are sitting there waiting for you to talk, it's a lot easier. It became so much easier.
Yeah.
I would recommend that for all you youngsters.
How
on the street.
do you mind? How much would you make in that? How much would you make like on a show? You said you do like 3 shows, like in one show. I know you said it's a lot of factors, but on the average, how much would you make?
You could probably do 100 a show.
Huh.
But it's like, $1 bills, coins, tokens, joints,
So it's more than we make now.
fake phone numbers.
Sweet.
Yeah.
But it was a lot of fun. I do not regret 1 minute, even though there was one time where I was doing a show on the perimeter right outside, and it was late, it was dark, I was broke, and I tried to start the show, and I had a very tiny circle, about 8 people.
Yeah.
So I said, look, okay, now that y'all here, you see me be a little bit funny, I'm gonna go ahead and collect now before y'all just walk the fuck away.
Mm.
So I had like a brown paper bag, and I remember I went around the little circle, and I think I got $1.75 because I counted it, and I said, you know what? And I put it back in the bag. I balled the bag up and said, fuck $1.75, and I could hear the quarters bouncing. Then I realized I didn't have no fucking money.
Yeah.
So I dove to the ground to get every fucking quarter that I threw out there. Because Albert showed me a spot near Columbus Circle that sold these great fucking fish sandwiches for like $1.75. And that was some good fucking eating.
How much you have to change your act up at Columbus Circle from the village?
I was just thinking that. Was it like now where people are like, you're an uptown comic?
Old scene.
Not at all. Not at all. Those people were just like the people. They were, or except for you caught them at a different time. You catch these people on their lunch break, and you catch these people on their weekend time. But they all, it was a very well populated on the weekends. People would come out there just to see the shows, and consequently, you get a lot of the same people.
How long do you think you can hold them? Like 20 minutes or like?
It takes 20 minutes to get them sometimes.
Okay.
So, but we would, depending on how many acts are out there, you try to wrap it up 30, 40 minutes.
Oh, wow.
So everybody has a shot to do multiple shows.
Yeah.
Okay.
But that was just, there was no regulation. It was just us getting together and deciding how we was going to do it.
Yeah.
And if you didn't want to wait, you just take your ass over there and start your own show.
But at some point, you can probably feel the crowd. People, if they're on lunch, they gotta get people would just trickle.
Yeah,
The crowd is kind of coming and
Circle was
going.
different.
Yeah.
But in an all-day thing like the
weekend.
Washington Square, it was, they would stay to see you do the same fucking shows. Well, they knew that I was going to do the game show, and I couldn't have the same people, so it was going to be different.
Yeah.
But if like Charlie would come out, it would not fall in line. He would just go when he felt like going, and he would take your fucking crowd.
Yeah.
I've seen him do it right before I was trying to collect, and I hear, and then this is Charlie, Charlie, and my stomach, my heart would sink, because I knew I wasn't gonna get paid. Because everybody was like, "Oh, fucking Charlie right now," and it'd be a trickle, and then it'd be a fucking stampede, because he'd be all up in a fucking tree somewhere. His little bitty fucking thick fucking fingers.
So when and why did that dry up?
I think they're still out there on the weekend.
Yeah.
But I mean, there are not a lot of people who can take. I mean, it is. I've had some comics who only work on the inside come out there and do it, and they're like, "How the fuck, man?" Because you don't get the same. You can't hear. The laughter.
You need a good voice, so you got a good voice. I mean, you got to project.
Oh yeah. Oh, you got to come from the gut. But you don't. In a club, everything's right on your face. As soon as you say something, you can hear them laugh. You can only look at their faces and see if they was laughing. You couldn't really hear it. And a lot of times, it's demoralizing, as you all well know, to stand in front of a group of people who don't fucking like you for whatever reason. I mean, I was very lucky. I didn't have any serious heckling problems. I don't even remember how I dealt with it, because, like I said, there's no cops saying, "Hey, the guy's trying to do a show. Keep it down over there," or people out there reading. There was one time. This is probably the most embarrassed I was out there. I saw a woman splayed out on 4 different steps. I couldn't believe she was sitting like that. I said, "What the fuck is wrong with you? You got spina bifida?" And that's what she had. Ouch. Oh my God.
You're like, here's the $1.75.
Oh yeah. That was tight. That was really tight.
Well, you mentioned earlier that there was someone, who was it that went into a club once that was...
I forgot the name of the comedian, but they immediately recognized the difference.
Yeah. So how did you change what you were doing when you went into the clubs? And when was that?
Well, I brought it inside. I was doing So You Want to Be Black. I did that on Comedy Tonight with Bill Boggs. First time I was on television, still homeless. I bought $8 shoes from Robbins on 8th Avenue. The suit that I had was stapled at the bottom. My hem, I used staples to keep it up. And I think I did it twice on that show. I can't remember.
And you brought someone out of the crowd?
Yeah.
Oh.
Out of the studio. I think it was set up beforehand. They chose somebody to bring up on stage.
Speaking of clothing, I was looking at your Def Comedy Jam clip.
Oh boy. Yeah, that was
Did you buy
mistake.
Those MC Hammer pants for that appearance?
I did.
Nice.
I said, look, this is going to be all black people. I got to look crazy. And I looked crazy. The problem was the pants were multicolored and had pink, blue, and yellow and white in my pants.
Maybe
and
some other colors too.
Purple, green. I also had a pink or wrong colored shirt. And what happened was, for some reason, my antiperspirant only worked in one arm. So as my set, if you go back and look at it,
I think it was blue. I think it was a blue shirt.
It was purple.
Light blue. It was purple.
Yeah,
Purple. Okay.
They matched perfectly.
Yeah.
The fucking pants. If you watch it, you will see that
Sounds like a big jacket.
there was a small pit stain
On one side.
on one side that grew throughout the set. And by the end, it was like, it was fucked up.
That is great.
I did have a purple suit when I did the Apollo Comedy Hour later that year.
No staples.
No staples. Oh, hell no.
Now, anybody that knows you knows you're also not only passionate about comedy but music.
Oh hell yes.
There was a Jeff Ross TV appearance that you played
I played
piano in the
right.
background
You played
for him.
I played one song, and that I took lessons from for 6 months while I was in high school.
Okay.
But at the end of the 6 months, I couldn't play like Herbie Hancock, so I said, fuck this. Which is probably the biggest regret that I have in my life, because I wish I had learned how to play piano back when my brain could still accept new thoughts.
Well, Motown was, you were probably like, when you were in like like 8 years old, Motown was going on, or no?
Oh, Motown, I grew up about, I don't know, less than about a quarter mile from the building.
Hitsville, USA.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. And every week, man, there were songs coming out. And what we would do, we'd buy the 45s, take them down the basement, and learn every single fucking word. Every background ooh, every background ah. Because if you were from Detroit, that was your fucking job, to learn and we had so many groups, and they was coming out every other fucking day. And that's what, that's why I still do the Temptation East.
Oh, yeah.
And also, there was a question on Facebook.
Yeah. Molly from one of the servers at Gotham
Right.
asked, "Does Parliament Funkadelic pay William a portion of their royalties?"
And that's because at the end of every show that I host, I close with a line from One Nation Under Groove. Actually, I changed a little bit, but it's basically to keep in touch with my musical roots.
What's the line?
Let us all be one nation under a groove and get down just for the funk of it.
Would you say that your taste is more critical in music or comedy?
Good question. Most people know me, I'm critical of every fucking thing. But I think it might be a tie. Because, obviously I've worked with thousands of comedians doing all the hosting I've done. And I get so angry when comedians either go over their time. There's two things that I can't stand. Running the light, or when I give you your 2-minute light, hey, so where are you from? Wrap this shit up. Don't do crowd work at the end of your fucking set, you fucking moron.
Except Ben Bailey, he can really crush it with crowd work.
Yeah,
and get off. He'll get off.
No, he would not get off.
No, I remember seeing him and learning from him that, like, I always felt like even if you killed with crowd work and it was time to get off, that you still had to do a bit. But he would crush with crowd work and then be like, all right, see ya.
But, yeah, see, Ben, I used to have a problem with him down the cellar all the time. He claimed he didn't see the light, or I came off 2 minutes after you gave him. No, you didn't, motherfucker. But that's the two things.
We're sponsored by Discovery Channel. We're gonna have to have your shit out. We're sponsored by Discovery Channel. It's not good. Way to go, fucking hell.
Well, I was gonna ask you about that because you did do a video with Lenny Marcus, which people can see on LennyMarcus.com about light etiquette. Did you know that was up online?
I didn't realize.
Yeah, he has like
very funny.
I got lost. I was up until like 4 a.m. just watching. He has his Willy Wonka spoof with Lucian and the comic strip. He's got Broadway Danny Cohen up.
I was what was I? I was Uhuru in the Star Trek.
Yeah, he's got
balloon titties.
I don't know if he has that one up there.
That's why I recognize.
Because I would have remembered that.
And one of the titties, the balloons were smaller than the other because they didn't blow them up at night.
But do you take it personally when someone goes over the light?
Well, as MC, I take my job very seriously, and I understand that other comedians have other places to be, and you going over is going to fuck somebody else up, and it's going to fuck up the show. My whole concern when I get up on stage as MC is to make sure that show runs on time, and it's the best show, that people give their best effort. Because as we all know, as a comedian, you get tired of your act, you get tired of doing stand-up, and I think that leads to a lot of the, last joke is crowd work, because you just don't feel like fucking working. And if you know that you can get laughs just by going into the audience, that makes you a lazy fuck. And I am not a fan, and also not a fan of interacting with the comedian when he's on stage. Like Jeff Ross does it all the time. There are a lot of comedians. Oh,
Do you mean when you're on
when
the
you're
set?
in the wings? You mean like?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
And they're talking to me. Don't talk to me. Talk to the people who came to see the fucking show. I mean, I understand that there's a lot of hilarity with comedians bantering, but I don't enjoy it at all.
You know what? Sometimes I've seen Jay do it, and sometimes I wonder if a comic does it. Because for me, when I see another comic watching, I feel that takes my attention. So it helps me stay in the moment and work off. I'm not necessarily trying to like banter with them. I'm just trying to like notice that I noticed them, so the audience doesn't think I'm freaked out by it. And I've seen Jay do that when it's great, you know, and he'll use it to lead into his stories, you know. And it's like, did I ever tell you that story about that? He doesn't wait for my answer.
Wrestling Eve cracks me up when he down at the cellar. You know how they parade going to the bathroom right in front of me, and he'll just say, "You're gay. Tell me about," or he'll say you're something, and then ask you to explain something about that job that they don't even fucking have.
As you're walking by.
Yeah. You're a sailor. What's it like in the water today?
I love when he goes, you like girls, buddy? And they go, yes, and he goes, no, I do.
We covered something like that in the videos about how hecklers can kill you by sitting close and whispering. So you're the only one that hears it. So when you get mad and start cussing the guy out, the rest of the audience is like, what the fuck is this guy's problem? He didn't say nothing wrong. And they said, you suck. You fucking suck. You know you suck.
It's like they took a class on heckling.
They did a video to help the hecklers.
Yeah, with that whole, what was the name of it? Instructional video?
Yeah. Light Etiquette, I believe it was called.
That was one.
That was an
episode.
episode,
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I had written some, I don't know, what do you call them, essays or whatever about the various aspects of stand-up. And
I think that's on dailycomedy.com, is that?
I don't know.
You're not sure where it is? Okay.
There's a great line in that video. I remember it's you're like narrating or giving the.
Yeah.
Like, when a comic runs the light, he, she, or Reggie McFadden should then. Whatever that was.
Yes, Reggie was very. There are a lot of comics.
Now, how do you handle that, like off stage? Like if somebody's.
Well, it happened tonight with Kevin Flynn. He went on first at Gotham, and he did like at least 20. He only supposed to do 15.
Okay.
But he claimed that he came off 2 minutes after I lit it, and I'm like, no, you didn't. And I only said something to him because he's first, so that automatically throws the show off because the other comedians got other spots to do. But I usually say, you know, what the fuck? When does the album come out? But you know, I don't. I've learned that I can't really be mad at somebody that I might have to work with the next night at another show.
Sure, yeah.
I mean, I can, but to keep the peace or whatever, I usually don't say anything. Just I file it away as that fucking guy's gonna go over the light, and I might light him earlier the next time.
Yeah.
Yes, I remember the other night I saw you hosting, and someone was on stage that just has long bits, and you're like, I'm gonna go give him the 5-minute light.
Oh, Brian McFadden requires the 5-minute light.
Because he has long bits, you know.
Yeah.
Standardly, it's 2 minutes.
Dan Allen, we light when he goes on stage.
Jim Mendrinos, I think we've mentioned this before, but it bears repeating. Jim Mendrinos has told me that back in the day it was see the light, say goodnight. You know, it was just like wrap it up. Somehow it's become
a longer period.
Yeah, I gotta get the big laugh. I gotta do this.
You gotta build up to some 2 minutes, and then like Ross Bennett says, most comedians like to end their set with the
big closer.
It brings the audience to a higher level of enjoyment. Small problem. I've already done my.
I hope at stand-up they used to ask the MC if someone was going real long to walk to walk on stage.
Right.
And then the crowd thinks you're the bad guy. Like the crowd doesn't know what's going on.
Another thing that I hate is when a comedian will come to the stage as you're introducing them, and it forces you to speed up. Well, motherfucker, I'm not ready to bring you up right now. But like Kevin Brennan, he'll just walk before you even get to his credits. He's on the fucking stage, tapping your shoulder for the microphone. But that's all he's supposed to do as an MC. He's supposed to get the name right.
Yeah.
And keep these motherfuckers on time.
Now, John, you had a great story, but you must have some name-forgetting stories from all the hosting. Huh?
Lori Kilmartin, I blanked on maybe a half a dozen times.
Yeah.
And Rich Franchese. Those are the two that I see him over there.
And you know them well, and it's just,
Yes.
yeah. How do you handle that?
Most of the time, like Lori,
They'll see it in their face. Like
and
this.
Lori will say,
Or recognize.
Lori Kilmartin. Sometimes I'll catch it in the last split second.
Yeah.
And if not, if they don't tell me who they are,
Do you ever have it written down on here or no?
Yeah.
You don't have it, yeah.
what am I, girl?
Thanks for listening. Stay tuned next week for more with William. Yeah.
In the tank with Johnny Fish. And Dan Shaggy in the tank with Johnny Fish.